Welcome to the Afghanistan Project podcast, where we delve into some of the most pressing concerns facing the people of Afghanistan, highlight individuals from around the world and across the political spectrum who have stepped up to render assistance to our Afghan allies, and raise the voices of the many people who have been endangered by the Taliban's oppressive rule. I'm Beth Bailey, here with my co-host Michael Cook. Today, we're excited to introduce two guests from Afghan company Aseel, which is empowering the people of Afghanistan and averting the hunger crisis that has loomed large since the Taliban came to power. Omar Haidari is the public relations lead for Aseel, and also joining us today by voice only is Humaira, one of Aseel's female employees. Thank you, Omar and Humaira, for joining us today.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
To start off, can you tell us a bit about how and when Aseel got started and what its original mission was?
Around 5 years ago, a group of Afghans came together to create a platform where they could connect the artisans to the global market, because we have always seen that the products from Afghanistan usually goes to second and third hand, and we lack the platform where we could directly connect those people to the global market, where people could see the quality of their work or actually understand and know who made these artworks. So the main goal of this e-commerce platform was to open a bigger market for the artisans in Afghanistan and support them, not only in Afghanistan, but this company is expanding its work across the world right now to connect all underdeveloped communities to the global market and provide these services for it. So this was the main idea why Aseel first came into being.
That's incredible. And prior to the U.S. withdrawal, was Aseel doing any kind of humanitarian work on the side of that original mission?
No, before that, Aseel was mainly focused on supporting artisans, their work and finding the markets. So no, before the withdrawal, Aseel wasn't involved in the humanitarian work.
And
So
at
can you
what point
tell us
did that
yeah.
switch? Sorry, Beth.
So after the withdrawal, basically the banking system stopped working. Exports, imports were vastly affected. So basically we kind of like our entire mission and work was put on hold. Hundreds of people lost their jobs, or the artisans that were being supported or maintained an income through Aseel. But we had a platform, we had a technology platform, and we initiated and we created another platform. And this time people were not supposed to buy things from the artisans and order them to Europe, to UK, to US, Canada, or Australia. This time people were donating packages and then we would deliver it to them. So we created this humanitarian platform where we made sure that it's all people run, people organize, and people manage. So anyone from anywhere around the world could just start their own campaign and choose the beneficiaries that they wanted to help, choose the type of a package that they wanted to donate. So we just provided the resources for anyone around the world who wanted to help Afghanistan or any family or any specific group.
So when the withdrawal happened, were there any international humanitarian organizations on the ground already, or was it mostly just local groups like Aseel providing assistance?
Right after the Taliban takeover, all the international humanitarian organizations halted their work until they were made sure, and then they came back into talking and dialogue with Taliban and found ways to work. But for a long time, there were just local organizations, which one of them were Aseel, that maintained their work and actively were providing humanitarian support to the people on the ground.
Can you tell us a bit about some of the packages? Because I think our listeners might assume that it's mostly just food products, but Aseel also has other packages for life sustainment for IDPs and things like that. So could you maybe tell us a bit about the different kinds of packages that you created and why you decided to create those packages in particular?
So right when the news was out there that the withdrawal is going to happen, so hundreds of thousands of people came into Kabul. They were sleeping on the streets, parks were full, it was cold, and And I remember our first mission was to support the IDPs, the displaced people. So we created a package called shelter. So these were tents, and these tents we provided blankets, we provided mattress, we provided the basic hygiene that they needed. So these were like the very basic things that they needed at the first place, to have a safe place, a little bit cleaner place to avoid getting sick. There are a number of packages like shelter, like child care packages. There are food packages, there are winter packages. There was a specific package that we created to support um, children at risk of malnutrition, mothers at risk of malnutrition. These packages were made in mediation with experts from around the world that what were needed at that time. So usually when we tackle anything specific related to health, we usually take the advice and opinions of the expertise on those packages before we create and finalize them.
So are these packages then hand delivered to the recipients? And then how are those recipients chosen by you guys?
There are multiple ways that how the recipients are chosen. One, anyone could start a campaign and say that, hey, there are a group of female teachers who lost their jobs in this village, in this province in Afghanistan. Please identify these teachers from the specific school for us, locate them, and then issue them an Omid ID card. And then we share this list with the campaign organizer, and then she has a target, she puts her story on, she raises the funds, and she chooses the package, and we deliver it. So this is one way. The other way is that if it's you that you know someone in Afghanistan who is in need of support right now, it's a friend or family or relative, you go on Aseel website. There is a form that you could add a beneficiary, register a beneficiary with us. So when we have available funds, we do, and then we have an option on our website when people make a donation that let Aseel decide. So for this, we have thousands of people on our list waiting to receive a package. But normally it's the people who decides and what beneficiaries and what people they help. Or other than that, then there are these specific initiatives that we take, like helping children at risk of malnutrition. We go to 4 or 5 different zones around the country, the biggest provinces, go to the hospital, check out their lists and database and find the people most in need. Or the same way with the internally displaced people that happened right in the beginning when Taliban were taking over. So either you suggest someone, register someone with us, or as a campaign organizer, you share your list with us, or you tell or give us some information about a specific group of people, and we find that and locate those people for you.
Mm-hmm. And which one of your packages would you say is the most common or the most needed right now?
Right now, it's the winter relief package, because across the country, I lived in Afghanistan for my entire life. I recently moved to Germany a few years ago, but I have never seen such a cold weather that I'm seeing now. In more provinces, more than half of a country, they have like minus 15 Celsius. There was a warning by a few international humanitarian organizations that it could rise up to minus 30 degrees in certain provinces. And there are also reports that almost 19.1 million people are in need of immediate humanitarian support. So right now, because of the cold, because of the winter, people cannot warm their houses. And this winter package, there is like one that you provide tools for people to warm their house during the winter. It's an entire winter package. It's very affordable. It's at around $75 to $80 for 3 months. It provides warmth for entire family. And then there are winter food packages that we provide at this moment. So these two are right now the most common and needed packages that we distribute to people.
Yeah, that makes sense going into winter. I mean, I remember when I was in Afghanistan, the people of Afghanistan that worked on base, they were always looking for lumber and for wood to go and, heat their houses and their neighbors' houses. And it's hard as Americans to really like comprehend that of, really worrying about your kids sleeping in, a warm house at night. So I know that's a big problem going into winter here. For the people that can't afford that in Afghanistan, I mean, what do you think they're going to do this winter? How are they going to be able to make it?
Honestly, it's a very unfortunate state, and that most people in Afghanistan are in right now because of the recent ban on women. A lot of international organizations that were there to help stopped working there, and that has made it even difficult. If you imagine Red Cross not working in Afghanistan, that means 70% of the population in Afghanistan, female population, does not have access to basic medical health, because all those medical centers were supported and run by Red Cross. Similarly, with World Food Program and many other international organizations, there were nearly 70,000 female employed by these organizations, and they were the breadwinners for their families. So honestly, I don't have an answer for that, but that how are these like vast majority of the people are going to receive the help and support? Just in yesterday, there is local media called 8 a.m. Afghanistan. They reported that 18 people in 3 northern provinces lost their life because of the cold, just within the first 24 hours since the weather has gotten this cold. The only way we suggest kind of like, of course, if we all come together and use our platforms and resources collectively, we can make a change. If a small startup company managed to help over 500,000 people in a year, considering all those limits and restrictions in that country with the transactions to exports and imports, I think if more people come together, we certainly can make a bigger impact.
Yeah, definitely. And Humaira, this is probably a good transition over to you. For people that aren't familiar with this Taliban ban on females working in this space, can you kind of just tell us a little bit about that?
About the Taliban ban on female in Afghanistan?
Yeah, as far as the ban on females working for NGOs such as your organization.
Well, women are certainly, this isn't something that, this is just like was an announcement for the people who are living outside, but since the very beginning from 15th August, it was like that. Female weren't feeling good and secure going out, going to the offices, even if we were working in offices. Like coming from Aseel, I was ever since working online, and most of the companies and organizations were enabling their female staff to work online because it was never secure to work in the offices, because there were very strict rules to it, like and from the governmental organizations, all of their female staff were working, like they were not, they were just receiving salaries. They were staying home, not working, and only on Saturdays they were going to the offices, signing their attendance, and just that was they doing. And this was just an announcement that happened, but there were things happening related to this before even.
Absolutely. Well, what does it mean to you, Humaira, to be able to work with Aseel right now in the midst of all of this uncertainty for women in Afghanistan?
Well, I'm not sure if I will be able to describe this in a word, but at the very start of the government collapse, it was a great shock for me, because before that, even the situation was not that good, but I was always dreaming big. I had a business, I had a job, I was living my best life, but all of a sudden everything was gone. So I had a 6-month period of giving up on everything, not even reading a single page or not going out, because that was a big shock that I couldn't overcome. And then the first thing after that was the first hand that raised me up from that situation was my work with Aseel in one other charity foundation among my friends, where we were helping people in provinces by collecting funds. These two helped me a lot, and of course the major role was from Aseel, because every work that I was doing was somehow saving lives, and was at the same time fulfilling so many things in me, creating visions that I lost before. I'm not sure if I can find a single word to describe it, but it was somehow in hand for me to raise up from a state where I lost everything. And then I started gaining back the force to work and to do something.
That's amazing. And I know that Aseel has also tried to give that hand up to other women. I think you've expanded the number of artisans, if I'm not mistaken, since being able to come back online and distribute products made in Afghanistan. From my understanding, there are more women now who are involved in your buy good part of the site. Can you tell us about that expansion and the new apprenticeship program that you're working on as well?
Exactly. The buy good side is having effect like on the main, but as well the majority of its percentages for the women, especially disabled, widowed women who lost their husbands and who lost their breadwinners during the war before that. So most of those female are working with us. It's not just only giving them an income source, but it's a hope for future. Like if they're selling, they're able to sell a product to someone in the US through our platform. By the end of the day, that's a bigger celebration than that of having a certain amount of money, because it's giving them a vision that they will have a future, they're able to do something, and their work is worth it something. And the apprenticeship program is mostly for those girls. It's like the least we could do, but it's something great at the same time. It's mostly the trainees who are working with the apprenticeship program, or the girls who are not able to go to school, or who are like providing for their families. Those girls who are going to universities and at the same time they're supporting their families. They're benefiting from that program. They're young girls and some disabled girls and some disabled men who lost like parts of their bodies in the war, and the insecurities like the bomb blasts, and these people are benefiting from the apprenticeship program. And the buy good section is more than just of an income source for them.
That's really incredible. And one thing that I really love about Aseel, so many of these groups that come in, like World Food Program, they're sourcing their food from goodness knows where, and sometimes the quality is not very good. You guys are trying to source the food that you're providing from Afghanistan. Can you tell us about all the different ways that, not just through that, but also through creating these new groups of artisans who are kind of making crafts that have a rich cultural association with the country? Like how is Aseel kind of reinvigorating Afghanistan, even in the midst of such chaos in the country?
Mm-hmm. Well, Aseel is mostly an impact-driven company, so emotions and sentimentals are mostly engaged within every area of our work. So we just want to make sure we are creating more than just an economical betterment, and we just want to involve as much as positive results as we can in every area of our work. For example, a single distribution, we are always trying to discover new ways to engage people and provide them from where they need. So right now, Afghanistan is mostly vulnerable for its economy and culture. We are so enriched in case of culture, but it's deteriorating because of the current situation. We're trying to cover up as much aspects as possible. So within a single distribution, we are trying to provide the goods from the local market and from the local sellers. So if there's a package going to a certain family, we want to make sure that the chain of this work is all involved with the Afghan. In every aspect of this work, we are engaging someone who will who we will have an impact by the end of the day. So this person who is providing the goods from a local market is having something on their table, like those goods, like the beans, the sugar, and everything is coming from the Afghanistan, like their Afghan product. So we're taking this serious. So in every aspect of our work, even the pockets and everything, we don't want to engage anything from the outside. All the work and all the results must go to someone from inside Afghanistan. And what was your second question?
Oh, about the cultural heritage, how it's been important to you guys that you're celebrating the arts that are traditional to Afghanistan right now.
Yeah, so like in my house, my mom knows a certain handicraft, but I don't know that because, and this shouldn't be like this. This is Afghan culture, and we have to bring this to life. And through this, if suppose there is an artisan who is receiving more orders from abroad, from different countries, and then she at the end of the day will ask her neighbor or her sister or someone from her town to help her out in making the products, because it's all the idea, it's very the purest product of Afghanistan. The idea is coming from an Afghan, the hands are involved, which are involved are from an Afghan individual. So they will involve, of course, like one of our vendors, Bamiyan Weavers, she is collecting the woman on the mountain, and she's just distributing the tasks to each and every one of them, and they're learning. So this was an idea, and now we have that idea as the program, this apprenticeship program. We are teaching the young ladies to learn a handicraft, though it's not the time for them to do handicrafts, but it's something the least we are doing. But at the same time, it has a great impact in giving life to the culture of Afghanistan, which is amazing. And I believe we have the best handmade products if we give them a best push in if they're valued that much. So we're just also trying to give life to the Afghan culture from years ago.
That's absolutely incredible. You have a number of other initiatives underway to help the women of Afghanistan. Can you tell us about some of those? I think there's one about women in technology in particular. Could you tell us maybe about a couple of those things?
Well, we are trying to bring out technological solutions to every issue inside Afghanistan. So the current issue is these restrictions on women not going to school, not having a job. And due to the war, most of the families are now run by women because their male members are either killed during the war, or either they got paralyzed or got disabled due to the war. So we're trying to enable women. They have to have a job, or they will go to street. If they are banned from working, they will go to street in big, which is again, like there's not big difference. If they're not allowed working, how are they allowed to beg? So we're trying to give them opportunities using technology to be able to work online. We're giving them remote employment through this program. In this, like 50 women, in its first phase, we will be helping 50 women to acquire an online employment with one of the partners. At the same time, we're trying to get into new partnership with organizations who are willing to support and be part of this. And the program is now live on our website. Girls can register. Every woman who think they can work with one of the technology companies, they can register themselves, and we will evaluate their backgrounds moving forward. And we are running this program through crowdfunding. People can donate or start a campaign for these girls. And once we reach the target, we will give these girls a 1-year contract with one of the companies in accordance to their background, like their educational and experience background.
Oh, it's a great opportunity. So I want to ask you, as a woman of Afghanistan, thinking back to August of 2021, how did it make you feel, and how did it make your family feel the first time you saw the Taliban walking down the street?
Well, I was like, to be honest, I was never thinking of this happening ever. But once it happened, because my mom shared the same faith with me, like not the same. She was a doctor and she became a housewife at her time when the Taliban took over. So, in seeing her daughter getting into the same fate, this was like disappointing for her from the family perspective. And for me, it was a great shock. And then I was like just going through social media, just looking into all these miserable videos and trying to convince myself that this is going to be the life. Even though at that time Taliban were claiming that they're nice, they've changed, but deep down, I never trusted them, and I knew it was these things that are happening today. I imagined all of them at that time, and I was really down for almost 6 months. I didn't do anything. I had a very good schedule before that, like daily routine, but I did nothing but staying miserable for the 6 months. And then slowly I learned the lessons, and I knew that even though if I don't feel like doing a work, I still can put myself into work, because the emotions that I was having from that was not in my hand, but the behavior in the way I would respond to that was completely in my hand. So I learned this lesson, and I learned that even like everything the life throws at me, this was the worst, and even it can get more worse. I just have to make sure that I respond in a way that's kind to myself, kind to the people who are in my environment, my family, my friends, my colleagues. I have to be someone which is strong for them. For them, like my two cousins who were living at that time with me, they were at school, but when they were seeing me being that vulnerable, they also gave up like on everything. But then when I started after 6 months, they also gained so much energy, and that's something that's inspiring me till this date. Because if I stand for myself, I'm not just standing for myself, I'm standing for a lot of other people around me. So there are a lot of lessons learned, but I would say that state of being miserable in disappointment was for those 6 months.
Yeah.
And I had enough of that.
Yeah. How much do you think your future changed that day? And what do you think you miss the most about the days before the Taliban came?
Something I really miss is to go out and see happy and hopeful faces, because every time I like going out, I'm an over extrovert. So when I go out, I see people like when I'm asking someone about an address, I have to ask them twice or thrice, because they're so overthinking, they're so disappointed, they can't focus on something. One thing I really miss is those happy faces in the city, those hopeful and happy faces of children, because children were different, but now when I go out, I only see children begging, women begging. I don't see any woman walking confident and like stylish lady. I don't see those people in the city, and that's why I don't want to go out and staying in. That's what I miss the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. And what
In my
message?
future, mhm,
Yeah, no, sorry.
my
Go ahead.
future changed a lot. Like the perspective I had before 15th August for the future. Now I'm considering my future as I'm walking through this dark tunnel, and I don't know where the ending is, where the direction is, where the light is. I'm just moving. I'm just trying to move forward, so one day I will reach the light and I will find my direction. But before that, I was so obvious about the vision, about the goals, where I want to be in the future. I was seeing myself as a businesswoman by this date. I was about to open my shop in one of my favorite places at that time. But now it's all darkness. I'm just moving forward, doing things to keep me moving.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's just like such a foreign thing for Americans to think about, of just having all your freedom stripped from you overnight, you know, and it's so sad. And it's one of the reasons why Beth and I wanted to start this podcast, to, you know, give voices to people like the women of Afghanistan. So what message would you have, or the organization have, for the women of Afghanistan that have those same feelings as you do?
Well, I would say it's the life is so unpredictable. You never know what happens next. We just have to learn that we can always have something to be grateful for. Like I'm 24 years old, and I almost wasted like so much time in my 23s. So no one ever is going to come and give me that age to live happily again. So this is my age of 24. I just want to make sure I find reasons that I can stay happy, and I can encourage myself, and I can work on myself for it. There's always a light. Life is never all about darkness. Like in every state, there is something to be grateful for. We just have to make sure we stick to that, to the people in the other is like we have to be very kind to the people who are in our surroundings. We never know what, like, even I being miserable at that time has affected so many people. Now, if I'm like happy, I'm laughing, so many people around me are laughing. We just have to make sure every action that we do is somehow kind to some people, to someone around us. Doesn't matter who it is, our family, a stranger, and there is always hope. Like my mom told me one thing at that time, that that's like I got so much hope on that. She told me that you don't know how many governments got collapsed in front of my eyes. So those governments didn't stay in, nor will this stay forever. So just do what you think you have to do and focus on yourself, not the conditions. These conditions aren't going to stay like this forever.
I think that's such an important lesson for every audience. I mean, we all go through difficult periods, and obviously the people of Afghanistan are going through one of the darkest periods right now after having hope and progress for such a long time. I wanted to touch on one more thing about Aseel, because we didn't really get into the naming, and I think you talked about hope. And one thing I love about you guys is your registration system for all of the families is called the Omid system, which means hope. And then you have this great network of volunteers too. Can you tell us about what your volunteers are doing every day and how they're compensated, and then the name for the volunteer network? I really love this too.
Volunteers are mostly engaged in serving the family who are receiving aids from Aseel. They're also engaged in the distributions, like distributing the packages with the team members. Also, they're in the delivery, like each volunteer who is delivering a package, they're compensated for around, I think, $4 for per each package, which is like at the end of the day somehow an income. So the Omid IDs, like if you go and order like donate to GoFundMe or any other organization, you will just receive a message that thank you for your donation. But here with Aseel, you will be given a track of your donation through this Omid ID. Like you know where it goes, who receives it, and discovering this people, like the person who is assigned an Omid ID, serving those family, whether they're like true people, and whether they're entitled to receive that package. This work is done by the Atalan network or volunteers.
And Atalan means what exactly?
Heroes. It's a Pashto word. It means heroes.
And Omid is hope in Dari, correct?
Yeah, Omid is hope in Dari.
I love that about Aseel, that you guys bring in these really important concepts in everything that you do.
Thank you.
If there are
Thank you.
Afghans who are in need of aid, who are listening to this right now, how can they reach out to be included in the Omid system or otherwise be involved with Aseel?
Well, first of all, we have forms on our website for everyone who wants to be registered for the Omid ID. But as we are a platform, they have to have a donor. Like if they're registering an Omid ID, they need to have like through website, they need to have someone who will donate to them. But rather than that, our Atalon network are serving the provinces, and they're bringing the lists of those families in the rural areas who are mostly in need. Like in Ghazni province, this area, this woman or this lady, this is her story and she needs help. These are brought to us by Atalon, and we are not doing this in an online form, but with they can fill the form. And for Atalon network, they also have a certain form that they can fill. There are a few questions like why they want to be part of this network, are they living inside Afghanistan, and about the accessories they have, like do they have phone, do they have access to internet. These are the questions we are asking, and once we receive their information, we are evaluating that and seeing if they are eligible. They will be added to the Atalon network.
Amazing. And what about for our listeners who are from the West and are looking for a way to help? What would you say is the most important thing that they can do through Aseel right now?
Through Aseel?
Yeah, what can they, what is the best way they can donate funds, or what's the best thing that they can do to support Aseel right now?
Well, they can just raise awareness, because the transparency and the transparent organizations are really important. Like we see these international organizations, they're just giving up so openly with the littlest excuses. Like they see something and they gave up on people. They have to know that what time, which organizations beside Aseel, they stayed by people of Afghanistan. The first thing they can do is to raise awareness about the campaigns that we are running, like the 50 Women on Tech, our Winter Grand Challenge. And then we have amazing individual stories of our vendors on our website. Each shop has their story behind it, like the lady or the man who is running the shop. Uh, there are stories. They can pick one of their choice and then promote that vendor alongside us, and then sell their products, because through each product that's getting sold, there is a great celebration in that family, like a chain of families, because there will be at least 10 vendors involved in that single product. Like shopping is a part of our daily, or at least like weekly schedule. We shop on daily basis and on weekly basis. So if we shop from Aseel, like imagine 10 of families celebrating that night, they had something on their, like you're being the breadwinner for them. Mm, so they just have to make sure they help us in raising awareness about the why of our work, like why Aseel, why shop from America, or why shop from Aseel. They can do this. This is what we need from people, and then they can purchase and donate any amount. Like $1 might not be something big to them, but if 80 people donate $1, they can warm the house for 3 months for a family here in Afghanistan, for a family of 8 members, which is like $80 can't be, or $1 can't be more thing to them, but it's a lot to someone here.
Amazing. Omar, do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners, whether they're in the West or whether they're in Afghanistan, about the things that might be helpful to them or to the people of Afghanistan right now?
My colleague Medina covered pretty much everything, but I do request everyone that can afford and have any kind of platform. You don't need to have money to be part of this. You certainly have networks, group, schools, colleagues, family members. where you can raise awareness about the situation and convince others who can afford to help. We provide very transparent and effective ways for people to support people inside Afghanistan. So you could get real-time update about everything, about, as Madina spoke about, our Omid ID cards or Atalan networks. They are all there, making our very hard and challenging work possible there, and making sure that everybody is very confident and sure about when they contribute and support people in Afghanistan and how it's reaching. The winter is really harsh this year. I would suggest if you cannot donate, then spread the campaigns that are already active on our website and help out people. And yeah, that's my last message, just to find ways and think about whatever ways that they have to support people inside Afghanistan. And thank you for having us and giving us a platform to further spread our message and our appeal for help.
Well, Omar and Humaira, thank you so much for being here. It was really incredible to be able to spread that awareness of Aseel and what you guys are doing, all the challenges that are facing the people of Afghanistan going to this incredibly harsh winter, and how Aseel is rising to meet those challenges. And as you've both said, giving hope to the people. It's really incredible. Another thing we like to do at the Afghanistan Project podcast is to give voice to the people of Afghanistan who are undergoing incredible stress due to almost 2 decades of war and now this tumultuous return to Taliban rule. And so today we're going to read a letter from a young woman we're calling Zarmina to protect her identity. Zarmina worked for a US company and applied for her special immigrant visa in August of 2021. And while her family is battling hunger and constant fear, Zarmina is still waiting just to achieve Chief of Mission approval, which is the very first step of the SIV process. This is Zarmina's story in her own words. Hello, my name is Zarmina. I am a girl who currently lives in Afghanistan. Before the Taliban, we had a relatively comfortable life. After I achieved my bachelor's degree, I was working with a company that provided services to the American military. We were all working in the office on the day when the Taliban entered Kabul. It was scary everywhere. I thought the apocalypse had happened. My tears wouldn't dry. There was no car to take us home. We all ran away to our houses in fear. When I got home, I went into my room and cried. Because there was no hope left, we went to the airfield to try to escape. We stayed behind the gates of the airfield for hours, but we didn't manage to get in, and the Taliban shot at us several times. We went home and came back to the airfield many times, but we did not succeed in getting out of Afghanistan. Every night, I sent my documents to the evacuation groups to find someone to help me, but I still did not succeed. Finally, I received a call from someone in an evacuation group to which I had sent my documents. The man said, "You have to go to Shar Mazar tomorrow because you have a flight out." We left for Mazar City. When we arrived there, we were told that we should wait for our call, and on the same day, the Taliban closed the flights. We stayed in Mazar City for 10 days. Then the man told me, "Zarmina, go to Kabul. The Taliban will not allow the flight. We will call you again." So we came back to Kabul and tried every way to leave, but we did not succeed. Since the Taliban came, we have no peace. We moved from our house to another place because my brother was in the military and I had also worked with foreigners. People were being tortured. Everything had been taken from us. We didn't have bread for days because we had no heat at home. We didn't have anything. The Taliban are forcing women to get married, and if their families oppose it, they kill them. The Taliban make life so difficult that many young people, both girls and boys, commit suicide. I tried several times, but I have an old mother. I am crying. There is no way. I don't know what to do or how long I will endure. I ask you for help. Help me. I want to live and make a life. Because I am young, there are many things that I have to do. I studied with many problems, but now I am sitting in a room. I can't do anything. If we go out, the Taliban will kill us. If we stay at home thinking about hunger and sadness, that will kill us. We are also human beings. We have the right to live. If I were you, a girl in this situation, I would help you. But I am asking you to help me. I worked hard during the day and studied at night to make a living, but now I think I have lost everything. I need your help. Please, please, please. I know I'm really grateful to Zarmina for bravely telling us about those really devastating situations that she's gone through in her homeland. And for any listeners who want to have their story considered for a future episode, please send us a letter with as much detail as you feel comfortable sharing, and whether or not you need to remain anonymous to protect your identity, to our show email, which is the Afghanistan Project Podcast @gmail.com. We'll put that in the show notes as well as all of the links for Aseel. And once again, we want to thank Omar and Humaira for joining us. And we'd like to thank all our listeners for sharing their time and supporting the people of Afghanistan. Tasha Kaur, and we hope to see you again soon.